Hello. If you're watching this video, I'm going to assume that you've already learned how to use the quadratic formula and you're delving just a little bit deeper. And you want to find out what this mysterious thing called the discriminant is used for. So, the quadratic formula, just a quick review, we have negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And that's in order to find x if you have a quadratic equation and you want to solve it. All right, so now we're going to talk specifically about a part of this quadratic formula. And the part that we're going to talk about is called the discriminant. And it's just this little part right here. It's important because it tells you quite a bit of information about a quadratic equation. So discriminant. Okay, there we go. All right, so let us say that we have an equation, and our equation is x squared plus 6x plus 3 equals 0. All right, so we're going to look at the discriminant of this equation and what it tells us and why it's useful. If we were using the entire quadratic formula, we would have had to plug something in for b here, and so something in for A, something in for C, something in for A. We'd have had to do all kinds of work, which is, you know, good in order to figure out the answer. But let's just say you just wanted to know something about the solution. You wanted to know if the solution, if there was one solution, one real solution, or two real solutions, or no real solutions. You can use the discriminant to tell you that. And here's how. All right, so let's find the discriminant. We call it d, and d is equal to b squared minus 4ac. All right, in this case, we have a as 1, b is 6, and c is 3. So b squared minus 4ac is 6 squared minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is 3. So that is equal to 36 minus 12, and that gives us 24. So here we go. What does this 24 mean? What does this discriminant tell us? All right, well, that means that in our quadratic formula, we would have had to take the square root of a positive number. Totally doable. And we would get an answer, right? So if we took the square root of a positive number, we'd get a perfectly good answer, and we'd have to add and subtract that answer and do some other stuff. So when you add and subtract that root of 24, you're going to end up getting two answers, and both answers will be real numbers. So that tells us that if our discriminant is positive, let's write this down. So if d is positive, then we have two real solutions, otherwise known as roots. So if d is positive, we have two real roots. Otherwise, let's say we have a discriminant, and our discriminant here is equal to 0. Then we're not adding or subtracting anything. So we only end up getting one answer. So if d is 0, then we have one real root, meaning there will only be one real answer. Or sometimes people say it's a duplicate answer. It's the same answer twice. But I say there's just one real answer, one real root, or one real solution. All right, and finally, let's say we had under that square root sign a negative number. Well, you know that when you attempt to take the square root of a negative number, things don't work out so well. So you don't get a real number when you try to square root a negative number. You get an imaginary number. So if this is negative, we don't have any real root. We have no real root or no real answer. But you can say that you have two imaginary roots. So depending on if you've already studied imaginary numbers, if you haven't, then what you would say, if D is negative, is that there are no real roots. But if you have already studied imaginary numbers, then you would say that there are 2 imaginary roots. So there are 2 answers, but they are imaginary. All right, so that's it for the discriminant.